Tottenham controlled the ball against Getafe. They built patiently from the back, moved the ball from side to side, and controlled majority possession. But there's one problem. Tottenham was not hurting Getafe. Why is that? I've identified 3 tactical reasons as to why Tottenham wasn't creating clear-cut chances. So before we get tactical, I think the context of this game matters. Tottenham returned from Sydney, and within less than 48 hours, they are playing a training ground friendly against Getafe. Instead of the game being 90 minutes, it ended up being 70 minutes with 2 35-minute halves. So with this allowed the players to have a match where it showed greater intensity without having to increase their workload of playing a 90-minute game. I'm not here to overreact to a 1-1 pre-season friendly, but I would like to break down the tactical elements of this game and why Spurs wasn't able to create the clear-cut chances that they should have. And this is the type of team that they're going to play against many times throughout the season, who will play in that compact low block, and we will have to find ways to break them down. Problem 1, possession without penetration. Now, let's start with the biggest issue. Tottenham had plenty of possession. There's no doubt about that. But possession and control aren't necessarily the same thing. We saw Spurs repeatedly work the ball from left, back inside, over to the right, and then back again. There's nothing wrong with that. Moving the ball laterally, there's nothing wrong with doing that because it's designed to move your opponents from left to right and breaking up those distances that they've created. Once you create those distances, when you then create space for moving the ball laterally, it's then designed for you to then play the ball into space. Now, the aim is to then exploit that space. So the low block is designed to limit the amount of attacking, penetrative passes the opposition can make. The back line and the goalkeeper of the opposition team is normally, the space between them is normally very limited. And this forces a lot of teams who like to hold possession to then have to shift the ball from left to right, which is not a problem. The problem is when we don't, exploit the space that we've created. So, it's fine switching the ball from one side to another, taking as many touches and making as many passes to one side. But when it comes to switching the ball back the other way, it needs to be done in maybe 1 or 2 passes. When it comes back over to that wide player, it forces the opposition to have to quickly switch or quickly shuffle along. When they quickly shuffle along, it opens up gaps. So that's where you will end up seeing maybe the right winger receive the ball, plays a diagonal ball for a centre midfielder, normally a 10 or maybe an 8, to make a penetrative run between the fullback and the centre back. This then leads to your number 9, number 8, number 11, making those crashing runs into the box and picking up those chances. Problem 2, Getafe refused to take the bait. This directly leads into problem number 2. Getafe deserve credit. They appeared very comfortable allowing Tottenham to have possession in areas that weren't hurting them. And that creates an interesting problem against the Roberto De Zerbi side. The centre-backs. One of the principles that we've consistently seen is Tottenham building up the play. Centre-backs will be on the ball. They will dribble up just probably the edge of the halfway line or so, in and around that zone, put their foot on the ball, and then they're waiting for the opposition side to press them. Once a player steps out to press, that's Tottenham trying to bait the press. It allows gaps to open up for Roberto De Zerbi side to then play through. But Getafe wasn't interested in pressing. They was interested in keeping their shape. Now, when a team keeps their shape, who's there for you to move? You can't move anyone. So that was very interested in seeing how Tottenham reacted to, a team that's holding their shape, not interested in pressing them, and just putting their foot on the ball, and then waiting for the next action to happen. That's when Spurs have to learn how to play through the pressure. So basing it on the problems Tottenham have faced against Getafe and will face against teams who want to adopt a low block approach in the 26-27 season, we will play a lot of times from side to side. It's evident we'll play the ball from side to side, and other ways that we can break down those teams by playing from side to side, and our wide players tucking in. So they'll start as they receive the ball. First touch goes inside. This forces to the opposition team to almost get over compact. So it's all about you pass the ball from one side to another. As the ball is switched across quite quickly, again, opposition team shuffles across. Wide player receives it. Instead of continue to go wide, they tuck in. And as they tuck in with the ball, that allows our number 9 to then make that diagonal run off a straight pass. And then again allows players at the back post from our wide player, number 8, number 10s, crash in the box, etc. So this is something that we have to really think about in terms of how we attack. There'll be times that we need to take the players wide, which is fine. And there'll be times where the wide players, yes, they'll be wide, but they might just take the ball inside and then make that breaking line straight pass for our centre forward to make that diagonal run and play into the zeros or to be able to take a shot. So moving into the same approach against Getafe, and again, we will face teams similar to Getafe who want to hold a low block or adopt a low block shape. We will need to be able to switch the ball quickly. So similar to the last problem, we will need to be able to switch the ball quickly in 1 or 2 passes into those wide areas. As the ball goes into those wide areas, it will probably be expected of the wide player first touch to be going inside rather than keeping wide. This forces the opposition defensive team or defensive line having to, as they're shuffling in, they're going to have to shuffle, as they shuffle out, they're going to have to shuffle back in. And there's going to be a little bit of a tiny gap where they can play that straight ball for the number 9 or centre forward to then make a diagonal run onto, to hopefully then play the ball back across the box or even be able to take a shot. So again, playing against teams who adopt a low block approach will require a lot of being able to switch the ball quickly, but also being able to take the opposition team out of their shape, out of their comfort zone. Problem 3, the final action. And this is, for me, is probably the biggest concern. Tottenham have got themselves into some really, really promising situations throughout pre-season to score, to finish off chances. But it just hasn't happened. And Mathys has probably been the clear example of sort of setting up those actions before the final action. Now, for me, Tel has been one of the brightest performers for Tottenham throughout pre-season. Again, he has shown glimpses of exactly why, and this is for his energy, direct running, his being able to receive the ball wide, driving towards defenders. But what interests me most was some of the passes he made. There was passes he made through to on running centre midfielders like Gallagher and Tonali, if I'm correct. So creating the advantage is only half the job. Someone still has to finish off the action. Tottenham were getting themselves into situations which something could happen. They weren't consistently turning them into situations from which something should happen. That's the difference between possession and genuine attacking threat. So back to the tactical board. Again, there's been many situations where, again, we've had the quick switch of play. So the ball's on one wing, it then goes through one or two passes centrally. A direct ball then gets played into Tel, and then Tel approaches the situation where he's got his body on almost like the quarter turn. So it puts the defender in a situation of, is he going to tuck in to do a right foot across, or is he going to go down the wing with a left foot across? And several times he's received the ball, got into that sort of quarter turn, that quarter 45-degree angle. He then decides to go wing or go wide. He then plays a ball across the box, and the runners into the box have not been quick enough. So that might be centre forward, our cam, centre midfielders, the opposite winger. So that finer action of finishing those chances, if a ball's going across the box through the 6-yard box, then, we need runners in there who are going to be quick enough mentally to run into those balls and put them in the back of the net. What does De Zerbi learn? I don't think Roberto De Zerbi be particularly concerned about, the result of drawing 1-1 to Getafe, given the travel, the workload, the nature of the fixture. I think there's one thing he would be frustrated about, and that Tottenham controlled the game without controlling the penalty area. So the 3 problems that I've identified are possession without enough penetration, Getafe's low block refused to be manipulated, and not enough quality or numbers attacking the final action. Now, this is why Tottenham's remaining transfer business is very important. I'm sure conversations are happening behind the scenes with Roberto De Zerbi and the board and scouts about those real crucial attacking positions. Because Roberto De Zerbi, he can create the structure. He can create the passing patterns. He can help Spurs progress the ball into dangerous areas. But eventually, someone has to decide the game. Through the lens, my biggest takeaway isn't that Tottenham drew 1-1 with Getafe. Is that we've been shown a problem Spurs will face repeatedly this season. Teams aren't always going to press Tottenham. Some will sit deep. Some will stay compact. Some will protect the middle and say, go on, Ben, break us down. How Tottenham answer that question could determine how successful Roberto De Zerbi will be in his first season. The principles are appearing, the control is appearing. Now the final third needs to come into focus. Those are my 3 tactical reasons why Tottenham struggle to beat Getafe. But now I want yours. What do you think Tottenham are still missing in the final third? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy beyond the result, understanding why things happen on the pitch, subscribe to the Tottenham Lens. I've been Anthony, and you've been watching the Tottenham Lens. Until next time, come on you Spurs.